Welcome to a Sunny Side Up Life podcast, a show for the woman who is ready to live an abundant life full of freedom and positivity. I'm Sami Womack, and I'm on a mission to help you break free from survival mode, gain financial freedom, stay motivated, and focus on what matters most. Join the movement and let's start living on the brighter side of life together. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode. I'm really excited to be giving you guys another interview today. It's really fun to bring on people so you can hear someone other than just me talk at you guys every single week. So I wanted to bring on Ellie from elliemondelli.com, and she is one of the most influential people, I think, in the debt-free community, and definitely one of my favorite people to follow and one of my favorite blogs to read. So I wanted to bring her on here and have her share a little bit about her story. And we're going to talk about one of my favorite blog posts of hers and probably some other fun stuff. So if you want to just go ahead and say hi, and feel free to just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you first and foremost for having me on here. I've been really excited to talk to you for the first time in like 2.5 years.
Yes.
I can't believe it took this long. So I'm Ellie. I'm 30 years old. I live in East Tennessee, and my husband and I are completely debt-free, including our house.
Yes.
We paid it off exactly a year ago tomorrow, actually. It kind of snuck up on us.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It is crazy. And blog, it documents our journey. Anything financial that we go through, it's documented on the blog. It all started when we decided to live off of one income and use the other strictly as mortgage principal payments. And
yeah,
just from there ever since.
And I love how you guys have decided that like you're going to just live off of one of your incomes. And I think that's really like a really simple way to just be like, okay, this is how we're splitting it up, and this is what we're doing. I've always liked how you guys do that. I've always liked how you so openly share all your numbers. You literally share the live share link to your budget spreadsheet.
It's funny when Dawn asks me how much money we have dedicated to a certain line item of the budget. I'm like, honey, literally anyone in the world can see it, and you're asking me how much we have. Like, just go in there and look at it.
That's so much pressure, I think, in a way, but so it must be like so freeing at the same time. Like, I don't know.
I've never even thought twice about sharing our numbers or anything like that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the advantage of using a fake name is everything else I can be completely real with and not have to hide anything.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And I love that you do, like, that's the only thing. And you even like say that on your blog, and you talk about it all the time, how like the emotions are real, the numbers are real, my name is fake, and that is it. And I think that's like the thing that you're like most known for. And like I asked on Instagram, what questions do you guys want me to ask? And it's like everybody I know, like, first question, okay, what's her real name? And I'm like, you guys aren't going to get it out of her.
People go through actually some heavy detective work to find out our names.
Yeah.
I had a woman one time who, I wonder if she's going to listen to this. She through my feed past like 2 years ago and found a phone number in one of my pictures, looked up the city,
oh my
up
God,
the apartment, and found Ron, and then looked at marriage records, and then she called me by his ex-wife's name.
That's hilarious. That is hilarious to me. But I love that you do that. And you and I have talked about this so much, which is like one of the reasons why I really wanted to have you on, is just I struggle personally with like that vulnerability level, because like I don't use a fake name. And on Instagram, like my sisters follow me, our best friends follow us. Like my mom's not on Instagram, but she is in my Facebook group. So like she listens to podcasts here and there. She reads blogs here and there. And so you never really know who's going to hear what. And
that would make it tougher. I've got my cousin and 2 friends in real life who follow me. And really the 2 friends is just that when I first set up my Instagram, I had my phone number connected.
Yeah.
And so they found me that way before I had a chance to like block everybody I know.
Yeah. Ours has just been so public, and it's just been like and so many of our friends, I mean, because we've been doing this for 4 years, so many of our friends have been along the journey with us. And so you're like kind of that level, like you do want to share because there's so many real life people that it's affected, but then like there's that level of literally giving people access to your budgeting spreadsheets. Like that's a little nerve wracking. So
it's a little awkward.
yeah, but I've always admired that level of vulnerability and just honesty that you've had. And it's like, it feels to me when I'm sharing our numbers and things, like it's really hard because I want to be honest, but then I kind of want to keep some things modest and some things private.
No, that's how we get it.
So kind of like after hearing your story and everything, I'm like, I should have just used a fake name. Like I
it makes it so much easier.
Yeah, I could have just been so honest but you know,
put it all out there.
Yeah. But that's what I love about how like you're just able to be so vulnerable and so honest. And I think your journal posts are some of my favorite because they're just so raw. And we're going to talk in a little bit about my favorite of your blog posts and like all that. But anyway, we're already on a tangent already. But I want to talk a little bit about how long your guys' journey was and what all debt you had. Because did you have debt other than just your house, or was it just your house?
We did. We actually started separately when we got engaged.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as my debt, I had the house, obviously, and I had a car. It was a second car that I didn't need at all. I mean, I only drive one car at a time. And it mostly just sat there, but it was one of my dream cars, and I felt like I deserved it, you know.
Yeah. That was your Mustang, right?
It was my Mustang.
Yes.
My Mustang convertible. I loved it.
Yes.
So, but once we got engaged, I didn't want to bring any debt into the marriage other than the house, so I sold it. So that put me completely consumer debt free. And then Ron, he didn't hardly have any debt. He had a little bit left on his car, which he paid off while we were engaged. And he closed his credit cards. I don't think he had any credit card debt, but I was super debt free at the time. So I was pretty particular about him getting rid of his credit cards. Kind of funny considering what we do now.
Yeah. I want to talk about, if we get a chance, well, we can talk about that in a minute about how you're doing your credit cards and stuff, because I think that's really interesting too. Yeah, so you guys had a little bit of consumer debt, a little bit, you know, mostly your house though.
Mostly the house, because when we got married, he had paid everything off and I'd sold the car. The only thing that was left was like $2,000 left on my engagement ring.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me a few days to convince him to let us just pay it off because we had the money savings. But he was being really weird about it because he didn't want me contributing at all to my own engagement ring. But I think it was 10 days in, we paid that off, and then it didn't take us too long to get a full emergency fund.
That's awesome.
That's because we decided from the start, too, to just live on one income. At the time, we were living on the higher of the two because we had a mortgage. So we just didn't give a chance. We didn't give ourselves a chance from the start to adjust to two incomes.
That's awesome. And that's a trap that I see a lot of people falling in. And that's kind of sort of like what we did. I mean, we've always just had Daniel's income. And I mean, I ran a business, but I never really turned a profit the first couple of years of our oldest daughter's life. And we've always lived on his income, but the problem was we've always completely depended on his income, and every raise, because he's in a union, so pretty much every year they get a 3% raise, and every year we would increase our spending, and we always just kept falling into that trap. And people will say, one of the things that I like about how you do yours is something that I'm kind of trying to adopt, is being very unapologetic for it. And you'll just pop up your numbers and you're just like, yeah, and like, I got my stuff together. I'm sorry that you don't.
It is interesting. That's something that's come up lately, because while we were paying off the house, you know, I shared all our numbers.
Yeah.
And at that time, it's all, you know, great job, you're doing awesome. But something changes
as soon as you're keeping it.
And you start saving that money instead.
Yep.
People start looking at it a little differently, especially lately for some reason, I guess, as my account grows.
Yeah. And
People I had somebody say that our numbers don't speak to mainstream America, and it just
Yeah.
caught me off guard because Ron's a cop. I mean,
Yeah.
we don't make that much money in the grand scheme of things. It's just we live.
That's how I feel. Like I catch myself being apologetic because I'm just like, I realize that, we might make a little above average, especially for just having one income. There's a lot of people who will have two incomes and make as much money as we do. But for it to be on one income, I feel myself being like, really, I tend to be like apologetic about it. Cause I'm just like, you get those comments where people are like, well, if I made that much money, I could do that, or like the other day I posted about how much we had saved in January, and I got some comment about, well, we didn't even make that much in January and you guys saved that much.
Yeah.
And
but at the same time, y'all make so many sacrifices to have that income. You're without him for so long. And it's like with us, we've been employed at the same place I've been there 10 years and he's been there 12, and you just gradually build up. We certainly didn't start out making that much money. I mean, neither of us have degrees, so
that's how my husband is. Like, he doesn't have a degree. He's had this job 12 and a half years. He's gone 3 weeks on and 3 weeks off, but it's really hard because as soon as they're rooting for you when you're paying off debt. But as soon as they see that savings account is growing, they're like, it's a trigger, and it's just like, no, you're making too much money. You're saving too much money. I don't like this. I'm not cheering for you anymore.
Yeah, it definitely changes, which with the debt-free community, for the most part, I would say 98% of my comments and messages are very supportive. We haven't told anybody in our real life about our new goal except for the people who do follow my account. Which people knew we were paying off the mortgage, and they didn't really want to talk about that. But I know for sure that if we told them what we're doing now, it would just make things extremely awkward.
Yeah. And I was actually, I was having breakfast with my sister yesterday, and my sister follows you now, mostly because of your cat. That's the truth, because I kept showing her pictures.
Shout out to Raleigh.
Because she has a black cat also. And so I kept like, oh, my Instagram friend, like, you need to see, look at her cat. Like, her cat did this. And she was like, all right, I have to follow this girl. Her cat is just so cute. So she follows you mostly for your cat. But anyway, I was telling her that I was going to interview you, and she was like, oh, that's super cool. Like, I like following her. And I was telling her, about you guys like saving up to cash flow a rental property. And she was like, oh my gosh. She was like, yeah, I think I remember that. And she was like, that's crazy. Like, that's so awesome. So that's like something her and her husband want to do. I mean, like, they just got married. It's going to be like way in the future, but that's something they want to do. And she's like, that's crazy. That's so cool. But okay. So for the people who don't know, tell us a little bit about what you guys are planning to do now that you are debt free.
So what we're doing now is, right after paying off our mortgage, we switched which income we live off of. So we were living off mine. At the time, I made, I think, around $3,200 a month. I'm on salary, so it was always the same. And so now that that's done, we were able to switch. So I deleted that line item out of the budget as soon as it was done, and we paid it off on the 29th. So it was ready for February's budget. And we decided to live off $2,400 a month, which is about $300 less than what my husband brings home each month.
Yeah.
And we decided to save the rest to purchase a rental property in cash eventually. It'll be a couple years. So we started in September. We should be able to do it, I'd say, by the middle of next year.
Yeah.
We took a break after we paid off the mortgage, though, and we had a little bit of fun where
I remember that. I thought that was really fun. It was only a couple months, though, right? Like 2 or 3 months?
It was 7.
No way. Was it really?
Was 7. Yeah, we meant for it to be 6, but we had to tie up some loose ends at the end.
I guess because you went to Russia. I remember you went to Russia, which was awesome.
It was amazing.
Crazy.
Now I'm addicted to traveling.
Yes, it was it was fun to watch you guys go to Russia. And then you're like buying your furniture. I remember you were buying your furniture. I was like so happy for you. I was like, because I know that feeling of like waiting, because you guys were just like throwing all your money towards your house, and like you're finally decorating. Yeah,
it was fun to finally do it, but towards the end of it, I was getting a little antsy. Like, God, I want to start saving some money again.
Which is kind of what we did. Like we we cash flowed our truck in February, and then we cash flowed our camper in October. And we did take, I don't really remember how many pages, because our budget, like we do like a 6-week budget. So months don't really matter to me. And we took a little bit of a break in between, and it was fun. But then we were both kind of like antsy, and we're just like, all right, what are we doing? We're wasting so much money.
We plan to take a break too after we get settled in with the first rental, get everything
Yeah.
squared away, because I want some new flooring and things like that. So
I think that's really helpful for people to know in the future, that like you are allowed to take a break if you want to. You are allowed to like raise your spending for a little bit. One of our goals for this year was to actually raise our spending and also raise our savings, like if that makes sense. Like we want to, because we were spending basically as much as we're planning to spend this year, but we were doing it going over budget. So like we're actually allowing ourselves to spend that much, but that's it, you know? So it's really been interesting to like, you go all these years with like, not like a lack of, but just kind of you're watching everything. And it does get a little tiring. And it's okay to like have a mental break. And I love, since we're kind of on that subject, I love how you talk about how you update your budget every day. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? How you stick to
I log into our budget every weekday. You can find it on my website, and I pull up our bank account and I pull up our credit card account, and I just balance it against one another. And then that way, I mean, it takes me maybe 3 minutes tops.
Yeah.
And I'm squared away for the rest of the day. I know exactly what we have going on. And it helps too in case there's any fraud. I can catch it immediately. Yeah. It's just my preferred method. I don't do it on the weekend anymore. Because
and it doesn't take that much time for you to catch up on Monday anyway.
Exactly.
So
unless we go crazy on the weekend, which we did. We ate out for like every meal, so there was a lot of transactions. We were bad.
That's okay every once in a while. But like, it doesn't that just give you, I hear so much from some people. They're like, oh my gosh, I just couldn't check my budget every day. But on my side, I do check ours every day, every other day, kind of just depending on, you know, what's going on with my kids and stuff. And it makes me feel better on the days that I check it. It's not like, I don't know. It's just like the power of knowing, even if I went over budget, it's like the power of knowing makes me feel better than guessing, wondering, you know, just that little like.
It just makes me feel settled and organized to start the day off like that. We do go over budget in certain categories, and I just raise that category and take it from a different category.
Right.
So I can just everything back out.
Yeah, we'll definitely do the same thing. Like we went on a date night the other night, and I had $100 budgeted, and then we decided to go out to dinner where we had a gift card, and then we decided afterwards to go shopping where we also had a gift card, and we didn't spend that much money. And I was like, well, this money's going somewhere else because we didn't spend it. I'm definitely
it's always the opposite for us. We always overspend and then have to like take it from somewhere else.
Yeah, usually it's like groceries. Like I'll overspend on my groceries, and then I like, oh, I gotta take it.
We did that this stuff too. And eating out, we always go over on eating out.
It really varies. It varies so much for us. So we'll spend like a whole bunch eating out, and then other times it's like, we haven't been out in like 2 weeks. What are we doing? We're just like such hermits. Like we're just good to kind of stay home. Like we're fine.
Well, we're just going and grabbing something and then coming back home and eating it. It's like we just don't feel like fixing anything, which most of the time we meal prep on Sunday. But if we run out of food or something through the week,
just like,
whatever, we'll go get something.
Yeah. So I want to talk about, you kind of brought it up. So I want to talk about your credit cards and what you're doing now with your credit cards versus like how you used to feel about credit cards. I'll let you tell that part.
I was so anti-credit card for such a long time. I had 3 store credit cards. I had Victoria's Secret, Best Buy, and I can't even remember the other one when I was 18. Because, you know, I was 18, I was free, I got credit cards.
You have to get one when you're 18. That's what I did.
And then I learned about Dave Ramsey shortly after that, so I closed my accounts. I never got into trouble with credit cards or anything like that, thank goodness. But I was such a Dave Ramsey like nerd for the past 10 years that I just thought they were evil. I thought they were nothing but trouble. But I started listening to Choose FI, that podcast. And they were talking about travel hacking, and I was kind of intrigued by it because I knew at that point I had the discipline to be able to do it and not get into trouble. So I did. I followed their strategy, the Chase Gauntlet strategy, and started off with a Chase card, personal card. And then I got a business card a couple months later. And then here we are a year later, and we have 2 more cards. So we have 4 total. We have the 2 personal cards connected to a service called Debitage, which is free, and it takes the transaction amount out of your checking account the next morning. So that way you're not seeing that extra money just sitting in your bank account that has already been spent on your credit card. And it holds that money into a reserve account, and it pays off your card every 2 weeks.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. I wish they did it for business cards too, but they don't, unfortunately.
Oh, that's interesting
So
though.
And I have to wonder more.
Yeah, I've, I'm kind of that same way, but we did get ourselves into credit card trouble, and we both had our own credit cards. When we were, I was 18. I don't know. He was a little bit older when he got his first one, like maybe 19 or 20. And so we had those, and then we had, I think, a Home Depot card because our washer and dryer broke, and we had to get a new set.
Plus you get a discount, right?
Yeah. And then we had our Discover card, which was our rite of passage card in our minds, because that was the first card we got as a married couple, and it was a Discover card, and it felt so fancy, and we were just like,
I'm an adult now.
Yeah, I literally remember being excited and proud, and it ended up being nearly $12,000 by the time. That's where they stopped increasing our limit at. Yeah, so we did have a little bit of a spending problem with our credit cards. We basically treated it like free money. And so now, we're a year into being debt-free, 4 years into our whole journey, and I'm starting to think about the idea of like travel hacking, but it feels so bad. Like it just feels so, I just don't trust myself.
Yeah, I'm sure it does if you've had issues with it before. Some people cannot get anywhere close to a credit card. If you're a natural spender, especially, it's not a good mix. Yeah. But I have a hard time spending money unless it's food, obviously. But I'm not a natural spender. I'm a natural saver. So yeah, it's never been an issue for me.
I am now, and I don't know. I've always been the nerd, and Daniel has always been the free spirit, but I'm also like, I have that little soft spot in my heart for him. And so I'm like, he works so hard. He sacrifices so much. He gives me those eyes, and I'm just like, yeah, sure. Whatever, buy whatever you want. I can't tell him no.
I get it. Because he likes material things more than I do. He loves technology. I don't like technology. I'm just not good with it. So he wants things more often than I do. So we make that happen for him. And some people, I think, believe that it's a little uneven or maybe unfair. I know I posted one time that I got a Christmas bonus and it was all going to go to his tattoo. And some people were like, never would I ever.
I don't remember that. I do remember you guys talking about like him after you paid off your house, like he was like gun shopping, like the last few months of you guys paying off your house. And I was like, this is Daniel with us waiting to be debt free. He was truck shopping. Like he truck shopped for.
One of the things that Ron got was a truck, and he's still working on that truck now, still spending money on it. We still have money left over from those 7 months that are dedicated to his truck.
He was like, he seriously shopped for a truck for probably a year and every day. And I would get so frustrated. I'm like, are you done? And then literally like as soon as he bought his truck, he was camper shopping. And I was like, you're wearing me out.
Mm-hmm. That's how Ron is too.
But it kept him motivated. It kept him happy, which kept me happy. And we're like,
people are motivated by different things.
Yep.
Always in their tool.
Yep. So, I was kind of like rereading through your blog because I had to go and steal some of your bio info, of course. And so I found this really great quote where you said, I'm not interested in personal finance or money. I'm interested in freedom. Everything else is just a means to an end. And I was like, yes, like that is so good.
Oh.
And I feel like that's kind of how we got into all this. Like we just wanted to be able to breathe. We just wanted to be able to do what we wanted. And money was the way to do that.
Exactly. You have to have it, because my goals are not that big in life. We want to build a house. We want to do everything debt free. I just want to be able to not have to work.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to wake up in the morning and go somewhere that I don't really want to be. I do obviously choose to be there. It's a choice every single day, especially now that we're mortgage free. It kind of makes it harder, to be honest.
Yes.
So I know every morning that I don't really have to go anymore, but I would eventually have to find another job, you know?
Yeah. And I just think, which is something that I try to teach my ladies all the time, is that, you have some kind of dream, and my dream might not be the same as your dream and might not be the same as somebody else's over here. But no matter what your dream is, it requires money, And so if your dream is to travel and to build a house, and my dream is for my husband to retire from the water and, to be able to homeschool my kids and be able to afford to stay home with them, like that there's money in all of that.
Yes.
And so it's not that like necessarily a money freak or like a budgeting nerd or like whatever. That's not really it. It's that you're desiring your dreams, and that is ultimately what you're doing. And I just think that that's so powerful for so many people, just the way that you worded that, and just the way that you do all of your stuff. So I thought that was definitely worth repeating. And I want to get into talking about the blog of yours that I'm obsessed with, borderline obsessed with. And I was telling, before we started recording, I was saying this is how Daniel remembers who you are, is because I made him read this blog way back in the day. I think this is the first blog of yours that I remember reading. And I'm like, hey, this is the girl that wrote that blog about why she doesn't love her job. And he's like, oh yeah, that girl.
That's how we connected.
Yeah. And I remember writing to you and I love this blog. This is exactly how my husband feels. And it's just his job is not his dream job. I mean, who dreams about working on a steel barge and transporting jet fuel and oil and being away from their family half the time? Nobody really dreams of that. But he didn't go to college. It's a really great income. We have insurance. We have 401k, all these things. And you don't have to love your job. And I think that's so great. So I want to hear your side of this whole story, your take on this.
Well, that's exactly it. Just like your husband, the job that I do, I deal with electrical enclosures. They're just big gray boxes. There's nothing sexy about them. There's nothing very interesting. It's obviously not something that I want to do for 10 hours of my day every single week. But like you said, the pay is great because I have been there so long now, and our health insurance is employer paid, so we don't have a premium for our health insurance. The benefits are awesome. I have 20 vacation days at this point, so it makes it hard to leave. There's a lot to be thankful for. So the issues that I do have at my job, the things that I don't like, it's not so much my specific job. It's just the fact that I'm working
right
for someone else, having to spend so much of my time there. So
yeah.
I guess the point of that post was, you don't have to love your job. So many people aren't going to love their job. It's not very realistic. But if you leave your job trying to find something that you love, you're going to exchange one set of problems for another. And then, if I left this job and worked somewhere else, I would make less pay. I'd have less vacation days. I wouldn't have employer paid insurance. So when people say, if you don't love what you do, you shouldn't be doing it, it's not very realistic for most
and I think that kind of what you say in the blog is there are things to love about it. And it's not maybe actually what you're doing in your actual job, but what your job provides. You can love that aspect of it. You can love the insurance, you can love the money and what the money allows you to do and all that kind of stuff. And you can find the good in it, but also that there's so many people, in which we've heard this over and over again, in almost 13 years of Daniel having this job, is especially when we started having kids, people started, June's almost 8. So he had this job for several years before we even had any kids. And people like as soon as we started having kids, they're like, well, you're gonna like quit and get a job at home, right? And he was like, why? Well, because like you're not home for 3 weeks, and does that baby's going to grow a lot in 3 weeks. You're going to miss a lot in 3 weeks. And he did miss things. He misses things, like he misses birthdays, he misses Christmas, but there's so many benefits to it. And it's like, he's like, so I would come home and just work like 9 to 5, be exhausted, go to sleep, get up, go back to work. And he was like, I would actually have less free time with my kids. Like he has 3 whole weeks.
He gets to be a stay-at-home dad for 3 weeks.
Yeah. And it's just like, no, he doesn't love every single aspect. Like you don't have to love every little thing about your job to be grateful for it, you know? And I like that. And I also like how you kind of flip it and you're just like, you know, I kind of don't want to love it because I don't want to get complacent. I don't want to like be lazy and just kind of like be a zombie and like, okay, this is what I'm just stuck doing until I'm like 65 or 70. Oh, well. Yeah.
Yeah. Because when I wrote that post, I think it was either the day of or the day after we had a meeting with HR, a company-wide meeting, and we were getting a company-wide increase. We were getting an increase in our vacation days, and they guaranteed free health insurance for the next year. And everybody was so excited, you know, and I was obviously excited too. I want more pay and more vacation days.
Yeah.
But when I sat back down at my desk, I'm like, is this it?
That's it. Yeah.
I'm going to get excited for somebody giving me more time of my life to have, or paying me more to do the things that they want me to do. And it was just like a few hours after that, I heard people already complaining about such mediocre things about our jobs. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, this can't be all it is. And I'm just so glad that I'm not just living for that I have something bigger in mind.
It's just like that endless cycle. And like Daniel calls it like a certified test taker. And he was like, I'm sorry, like I'm not a mindless certified test taker. Like you're not somebody who just follow. Like, well, that's what they're doing, so I guess that's what I should do too. And yeah, like you might be the weird one. You might stand out. You might, you know, but oh well.
I know. I don't really have any friends at my work, which it's a really small facility anyway. There's only 10 of us now, and there's only 2 other women, and they're really good friends, you know, but they have brand new cars, and they both go out for lunch every single day, and I don't know, their goals are just a lot different than my goals.
Yeah, which is, which is what we kind of run into with like the guys that Daniel works with. And, you know, there's not a lot of guys that he works close with. There'll be like a couple guys on the boat at a time, and there's a couple people that'll come and go, and, you know, and they're great guys, you know, and they have families and all this, but their goals are just so different than ours that it's hard to like have that kind of level of connection. And he'll talk about how a lot of the guys that he works with, just in the whole company in general, like their 401k doesn't kick in until they're 69. And they're doing hard, like physical labor, like almost all of them fly to get to the boats, you know, and they're climbing and lifting and, you know, heavy stuff. And he's like, I can't imagine being 69. And that's a lot of their plan is to stay. Well, as soon as I'm 69, like they think that that's great, that they don't have to be there when they're 70. And he's like, nope.
No, I cannot wait that long.
No. And he's like, you know, God willing, I even live to be 70.
Exactly. Or that you're healthy enough to do the things that you've always wanted to do.
Exactly. And he actually was saying the other day that he kind of spoke up, and he was like, why are y'all acting like that's a good thing? And they were like, what? And he's like, you know, why are y'all acting like that's a good thing? He was like, I don't know about y'all, but I'm out of here in like 15 years. And they're like, how? And he was like, have you guys been paying attention to what Sami and I have been doing at all? And they're like, no. And he was like, why do you think that we're living in that tiny house? Like, why do you think that we sold our humongous house? Oh, I don't know. He's like, yeah, because like I'm going to be out of here before I'm 50. And they're like, no way. He's like,
Do people think that y'all did that out of like money problems? Like you were forced?
maybe like, I don't know. And it's just crazy because the house that we're planning on building, I mean, obviously we don't have like plans or anything yet, but the ideas and how much we're going to spend, we're probably going to spend more than the house that we were living in, because we're just kind of like, if we're going to be in debt, like if we're going to have like, I don't know, like a $300,000 house or something, like it's going to be legit. Like it's going to be exactly what we want.
It'll be the house you want.
Or I'm not paying for it.
No.
So I'm not going to just mindlessly go into being a homeowner again, just, you know, for it to just be kind of sort of what we want. But I don't know. And we've really talked a lot about how, you know, my sister and I kind of had this talk one day about how if I would just wake up in this life now, like if I had been in like a 5-year coma, and she's like, if you woke up and you were in this tiny little house, like on this kind of questionable side of town, like it's safe, but it's not like to brag about kind of side of town, and, you know, was driving a Suburban with almost 200,000 miles on it, she was like, you would have thought like Daniel got fired, or like you would have thought that y'all were having some bad times. I was like, oh, I would die of embarrassment. I just.
It is interesting to hear that, because I kind of had the opposite lifestyle, but of course I was single for so long, you know, I didn't get married until I was 27, and I moved out when I was 17. I did that one semester at ATSU for college, and then came running back home. But my first apartment, it was $270 a month. Like literally all I cared about was getting the cheapest rent I could that didn't have bugs. It was a very sketchy place. And then the first house I rented years after that, it was $600 a month. And again, it was a really sketchy road, but I didn't care about any of that. You know, I just tried to save as much money as I could.
I think that's how I would have been. Like I literally moved straight from my parents' house to living with Daniel. Like there was no in between. And I think that's how I would have been. Like if I would have lived on my own, I would have like definitely been saved more and lived less and less. But we just got really caught up in the money, and we got really caught up in how his coworkers live and how people like expected us to live. And we, you know, everybody's like, well, you're just doing so great. And like, we're making the most amount of money on both sides of our families, and we still do. And so we're just like, oh, well, we have to live up to that expectation.
Well, people expect you to move so fast once you get married. Like the next day, when are you going to have kids? The next day after that, when are y'all going to upgrade your house, you know, or get a new car? There is a lot of expectations there. And
I just think it's like society makes it so normal, and that it's just like when we moved into our big house, our 3,200 square foot house, we just had June, and she was like 5 months old. We moved in, and people are like, oh, well, y'all are going to have 3 or 4 kids, which was our plan from the beginning. And people are like, well, you'll grow into it. And we had Melanie, we had our third daughter, and we were like, okay, we decided we were done. And we still weren't grown into it. And people were like, well, when they're teenagers. And I'm like, you know what? I don't know. This isn't this is what y'all are telling me I want. And I don't know. And it's crazy.
Because when I bought this house, that was what everybody told me, was buy as much house as you can afford.
Yep.
Buy as much house you can afford. So I did. I mean, the house is big. It's way bigger than we need, which is still inexpensive in comparison to a lot of places in the U.S. I know that.
Yeah.
But it's still way bigger than we need. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I think y'all's cost of living is in Tennessee is about like ours is in Texas. Like it seems like it is from things that I have heard, and people are just like, you know, Daniel will go to work and basically get a New York salary and come home and live on Texas cost of living, and it's very nice.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's what a lot of the guys do. A lot of guys are like from Texas, Alabama, Florida, and they'll fly up to New York and like Boston, Philadelphia, like that whole area, and come home and live on it. And it's like, it's
super smart.
Yeah, it's really nice. And but I just, you know, I just like how you guys are another young couple, like setting this like new norms. and making it okay. And like, we're the same age. And so I'm feeling like in my own life, like, oh, we're doing so great. And then I'm like, well, yeah, but you already like have your mortgage paid off, and like, we're the same age.
I feel the same way too when I look at other people, like people who have already achieved fire in their own
Yeah.
age. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so behind.
I
I
know.
think there's always that comparison trap.
Yeah, there is. And I'm always like, oh, these kids. No. Like, why'd I have all these kids? No, but I just think it's just great to like part of like the debt-free community and like meeting people who are weird with you, and you don't feel so crazy.
Our weird friends.
Yes. So you don't feel so crazy. Like, you have this little bubble of the internet that like you belong in.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a saving grace because when I started my blog, I thought I was really weird. I didn't know of anybody else even paying off debt, let alone paying off their house. And I just wanted to document it basically as a diary for us to look back on. It just started off with monthly updates, how much we were able to pay off. And I never really expected anything out of it. I thought maybe a couple people along the way would find it if they were doing something weird like me and we could connect. I had no idea that we would end up creating the debt-free community.
No, I had no idea. Like, it's crazy. And I started like, I had been doing my blog for a long time, and I didn't really realize that there were other people kind of doing the same thing. And I was kind of trying to go more of like the like inspirational like quotes and like that kind of stuff. And I started like, actually I found all of the people that I found, like you were one of the first people I found, like Kim Galetta and Sami from Eat, Pray, Budget, and Ellie from Financially Focused. Like, all of y'all were like some of the first people that I found, and I found all of y'all through Pinterest, actually.
Oh,
and
did you? I didn't know that.
And I was just like searching for other blogs. I was actually looking for blogs to contribute onto and to like people to connect with. And then I started like finding people's Instagrams, and then like people would do like follow Fridays, and I would start to like follow all these people. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like a thing. This is like a real thing.
It's crazy how fast it became a thing. And I'm sorry that you had to see some of my ugly pins from back then, because I had no idea what I was doing.
Oh god.
I don't think Canva was a thing, and it was rough out there.
No, I was making my pins and stuff like on Microsoft Word and stuff like that for a long time, and like saving them in Paint. Like
in Paint.
I would save them in Paint to like make them a picture file, because like I didn't know Canva, I didn't know like anything.
No, I didn't know anything either. I started Instagram, I want to say maybe a couple of weeks after making my blog. Still, I had no idea what I was doing. My pictures were so ugly, and then the same names kept commenting on stuff, Debt Free in California and Conrad, and from there it just grew. I still can't believe how fast it grew.
Yeah, it's crazy. And like watching, and I was actually like looking at your page. I was looking for something to like get ready for the interview, and I was like, I realized that you had 13,000 followers, and I was like, oh my, like, when did this happen?
I think it was because of the Nashville meetup.
Yeah.
And going and seeing Dave Ramsey, and then Chris Hogan reposted one of my pictures, and I think that was kind of what built it up a little bit more, because it didn't kind of happen out of nowhere.
And I think I found out about debt-free charts through you sharing your charts. And I was like, what are these charts? What is this? And like, and now I've had Heidi on the podcast, and like, it's just like
amazing.
She's awesome. And
I don't even think she knew how amazing she was.
No, I told her in our interview, I was like, I consider you like the fairy godmother of the debt-free community. And she like busted out laughing. And she was like, I've never heard anyone say that. And I was like, but you're literally in everybody's story. You're in everybody's story.
Everybody's. And she didn't even know it.
No, and she was like, no, she's like, she's being so modest. And I'm like, no, like, you're awesome.
Yeah, I think her blog, didn't it used to be like debtfreecharts.blogspot?
Yeah, something. And she finally,
like that.
Like she grew so fast. Yes. But anyways, so do you have any like final thoughts for us? Because I feel like we could keep like talking and talking forever.
I know, I could sit here all night. It's so rare to get to talk to somebody like face to face.
I know, like we could just sit here and talk. So what do you think, like, what do you feel like has kept you motivated and like kept you going, and what do you think will keep you going?
I think as far as motivation, you can't really, I I don't think that you can really depend on it for the long haul
Yeah.
because it kind of wears off. Like, I kind of struggled with that whenever we first started saving for the rental. It's just different for some reason than paying off debt.
Mhm.
Because when you're paying off debt, you have that one final number that you're looking forward to. You know what the result is. When you're saving, it's just endless possibilities, which you would think would be more motivating, but for some reason,
It's different.
it's different. It does. But I guess for us, it's just knowing what we want and knowing that we can feasibly get it if we just keep doing this and
Yeah.
putting the systems in place. I think that's huge because we have my paychecks direct deposited to our Ally savings account for our goal. And if we didn't do that, then it would probably be a lot easier to stray from our plans.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's really smart to have it like direct deposit in there and like not even, and that's what I'll do. I will wake up. Sometimes I wake up, most of the time I wake up early on payday and that's the first thing I do. Like I just transfer that money to savings, like before it's got to go over there. And it's almost like it is harder in a way saving, and people are like, no, but you get to keep the money. And you're like, well, you don't really have anybody but yourself to like be in competition with, or no one else is holding you accountable. You're not going to have a debt collector calling you if you don't do it.
Exactly. Nobody's going to call and yell at you. And there's just not as many people out there. The debt-free community is awesome. But once you start saving, it's kind of a smaller sub-community.
Yeah.
Everybody's goals are so different
and
for what they're saving for.
And that's why I decided that this year I was going to be more open with our numbers of how much we're saving, where we're at, and all of that, most to hold myself accountable, honestly, because I want people to know if I slip up, I want to at least be embarrassed about it in front of somebody. Like
tell thousands of people that you slipped up.
Yeah. I need somebody to know. I need somebody to be watching my back, like keep me accountable.
Yeah. If not, you just have a pile of money that you're saving and you really can do whatever you want. Like I know at this point I could go out and get a Mustang.
It's really hard. I know. It's really hard, but I think that's good what you said. Like you've really just got to focus on like what is possible and focus on like that future of where we can be, what it can look like, traveling, building a house, having rental property, like whatever it is for you, and just like keep your head in the game.
Yeah, keep it realistic. I see memes sometimes that talks about like baby step 7 life and what they think it's going to be like. And I know that they're kidding around, but it's like the day after you pay off your mortgage, that you're still you.
Yeah.
In your life, things take time, and I think it's easier to just focus on one step at a time. Even the 7-month break that we took where we were spending, that was a goal. We had to make it a goal to spend that much money. Otherwise, I think we would have held back and not wanted to do it as much.
Yeah.
So we just, I think, laser focusing on just one step at a time.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's really smart. And I like how you kind of like give people permission to like take a break if you need to take a break, and like
take a break,
do what you need to do, whatever you need to do.
For spending on yourself.
Yes. Yes.
You reward yourself along the way.
Oh, I feel like this has been such a good conversation, and we could talk for hours. I'm also going to I'm going to put all your links and everything in the show notes. I'm also going to link to the review that you wrote of my course. It was such a great review.
I love your course.
Thank you.
It really helped me back on track because I got out of budget in there for a while whenever we were really close to paying off the house.
Yeah.
I mean, you need a budget, but it gets easier once you have those habits set up.
Right.
But I was getting really antsy not knowing exactly how much they're spending. So,
I'm also going to link to where you update your budget and where you can let people see it, because I've gotten on it and I love how simple it is, and it's like one sheet, and I'm like a 10 or 15 tab budgeter and it's like so simple. I just love it, and it's so just like, I love that you share it, and it's so like the real numbers, like everything that you do. So I'll definitely link to that, and I'm going to link to your affiliate link for my course also, where everyone can save $10 if they purchase the course through Ellie's link, and she'll get a commission and all of that good stuff. And so you can go and read her review and everything. So yeah, thank you. This has been so fun. I was so excited to finally talk to you. So thank you for coming on. And you guys make sure to share this episode and leave us a review and all that good stuff. And all right. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
I'll talk to you guys next week. Bye, guys.